Do you have a big fabric stash that you are struggling to use? Today, I've got some tips to help you bust that stash. Hi, it's Hannah with Fabric Café. Fabric stash busting. It's something we all strive to do, but it can be pretty overwhelming to get started. Stash busting does not mean that you have to clean out your stash entirely. That thought would make anyone stop in their tracks and not even want to try. What we want to focus on is just keeping the projects moving so that the fabric doesn't stagnate. Today, we're going to look at some ways to work with the fabric that you have and how to find the perfect patterns for them. A good way to start is by sorting your fabrics. I just have my fabric sorted into focus, light, and dark, following our standard 3-yard quilt formula. Now, our focus fabrics are going to be bigger, bolder prints. And in our pattern diagrams, they are represented as a polka dot. For our light fabrics, these will be your fabric number 2 in the quilt, and it is usually your background. It is represented by white on the quilt diagrams. You can use a print like this, or you could go with a more textural print like this. Now, for your dark fabric, this is going to be your fabric number 3 in the quilt, and it adds that pop to your quilt piecing. It is represented by black in our pattern diagrams. And again, you could use a print or something more textural, like here we've got some prints, here's a slightly more textural print. You can really have fun and do what you want. Once you have your fabrics sorted, it's much easier to pull them together into projects. Here's a couple of ideas on how to do that. You could build a bunch of kits from these piles, making sure to include a focus, light, and a dark. Don't worry about what pattern to use yet. Just start pulling together fabrics that you like maybe here, and then, oh, that's kind of nice together. And just keep going down the line. Then, the next time you're ready to start a project, you can just go to your collection of kits and pull the one you like the best and pick your pattern from there. You can use this same method when you make 5-yard kits as well. You just need to add an additional focus fabric and another light or dark, depending on what you think your kit is lacking. Let's put that into practice a little bit. Let's pull one together from this stash. One of my nieces this year really wants a horse quilt. So I have my focus, I'm gonna go to my light and dark. Now, there's not really any pink in this, so this one's gonna go to the side. And again, we've got some pink. There is some teal and turquoise in this, so this could be a possibility. This would be a good option too. And here, that's really nice. I like this gray, but it kind of takes it down a little bit. There's some nice warmth in this fabric, so I think I want to stay in the warmer categories. I really like this one, actually, because it's got this texture to it. It's a very small print, so it's gonna be really delicate for the background. It picks up all of these warmer tones in the background of our quilt and some of the accents on our horses. Fabric number 2, done. And it's time to look at our fabric number 3. And again, I'm just gonna start looking through, seeing kind of what I feel is fitting. Now this teal is actually pretty nice, kind of has a weathered texture, but I like this brown. Now that I look at that, so I can kind of lay them on top and see what feels the best to me right then. I like that this picks up some of the teals in the background, but I also like this kind of rich, warm brown. It picks up some of the lights in our number 2, and it also brings out a bunch of the horse colors. Having that different color than the teal will actually make the teal in our focus be more prominent. It'll be a nice contrast. Let's go with that. And there you have your kit. Don't be too hard on yourself in this step. I think one of the biggest things that hold quilters back is second guessing ourselves. At the end of the day, all that really matters is that you like the quilt. So if you liked one of these teals better, you could have gone with that. Even if you think a fabric combination might be a little weird, if you like it, then go for it. It will make it more fun for you, and that will show in the final product. Our fabric's picked. And now it's time to decide on our pattern. I think the easiest way to pick a pattern is to look at the size of your focus fabric print. Now I have 3 kits here, all with different size focus prints. First, we have those horses we were working with, and this is a really large print. Then we have some really cute little bicycles. They are on the smaller side. Then we have a batik with a more textural print. Now, any 3-yard pattern will work with any 3 yards of fabric, but some are going to work better than others to highlight your fabric. Let's look at our big fabric first. We have a very large directional print. So we want to make sure we have a big pattern with a big block. When I'm first starting to look, I like to look at the back of my books where it shows all the patterns and just start sorting them into piles of potential patterns and no-goes. Since I'm looking for something with a big block, I can immediately put a book to the side if none of the patterns have that. I will take my stack of potentials and actually look at the measurements of the block. Something I like to do on this step is to have a square ruler handy. I lay the ruler on top of my fabric to see if that size would work. So say for example that my focus fabric finished block size is 5 inches. I can lay my ruler on my fabric, move it around a little to get an idea of what I would see in that 5-inch square. Now I can just look here if I want to and kind of see where that 5 inches is. But if you're having a little bit of trouble, just take some paper and put it right where that 5-inch is. And you could even go all the way around if you wanted. Now, remember, to find your finished block size, you look at what you cut your block at and then subtract 1/2 inch for the seam allowance. I can see that my horses are going to get cut up a little bit too much with this 5-inch block. So let's look at an example of that. This is our pinwheel party pattern. It has around the same size block. It doesn't look bad, but it also doesn't highlight the horses as much as I would like. We're kind of cutting off a lot of the horses' heads. Now we know that we don't want a block that is 5 inches or smaller. And this makes narrowing down your pattern a lot easier. If I have a finished size of 8 inches, I'm still seeing a lot of my horses. Okay, that's pretty good. And you can kind of move it around too, because you're going to get all sorts of different cuts. But if I go smaller, so I can see even with a 7-inch block, it shows a little bit less of the horses than I would like. So now I know that I want at least an 8-inch finished block or bigger. Let's look at an example of the horses in a big block pattern. Yes, we can see a whole lot more of the horses. And we still have a little peekaboo in those little blocks on our sashing. Those are more like accent colors. So it still works since we have that other big space to really show off our print. If you have really big fabric prints like this, we have some great resources for you to find the perfect pattern. In our free goodies, we have a handout called Top 10 Big Block Patterns. This is free to download and has 10 different options that would work with large prints like this one. We also have our book, Big Block 3-Yard Quilts. All of the patterns in this book have big blocks that range from 9-inch finished to 13-inch finished. So it's perfect for big fabrics like this. Now let's look at how to pick a pattern for a smaller print. We will use the same ruler method like we did for the big block. We're just looking for something smaller this time. So if we put it in a large block like our horses, it would get kind of lost. Here's an example. We have put it in our Grace pattern, which has a finished block size of 10 inches. You can see a lot of the bikes, but because they're on the smaller side, it feels like the block kind of swallows them up. So let's do our ruler trick. So what if we try more like a 6-inch block? And we'll put that down, we'll put our other papers down. And I think that balances it pretty good. You can see all of these bicycles, you can see more than one, but they have a chance to be more of the star. So let's look at a couple examples. We've put the bikes in our balance pattern and our boxes and bows patterns. These blocks are both on the smaller side, but they fit the scale of the bicycle really well and makes them the star of the show like we're looking for. But what if you're working with something that is a little more textural? Here is our batiks. Now, these can make beautiful quilts, but if you're using them in something with a larger block, it loses some of its interest. This is our checkmate pattern, and these colors look very nice together. But that big strip of fabric doesn't really do it justice. It's more textural. There's not a whole lot going on. The best patterns to use for textural prints like these are ones with smaller piecing. So here you see our Starstruck pattern and our Courtyard pattern. Now the reason textures work well in these patterns is because the interest is coming from the piecing of the quilt and the color is dispersed more evenly across the surface. This ends up making the fabric and quilt pop even more. These types of patterns are also great if you have solid fabrics that you're trying to use. Another thing you want to watch out for when picking your pattern is if your fabric is directional. You need to make sure that you pick a pattern that isn't going to turn your blocks. In our newer books, we've started adding notes in the cutting instructions on whether a fabric position is directional friendly or not. Here are some things to look out for. Is the block cut independently? This could be like a square or a rectangle. If so, you can use directional fabric. Here you can see I have two big squares from our pretty simple pattern. These get cut by themselves, so that means I can turn them whatever way I need to. So I can make sure that it's not going sideways, not going upside down. We have it nice and straight. And then we just have strips sewn in between those blocks. This is our picture perfect pattern. And here we have a rectangle and it gets paired with a pieced block. Again, cut by itself so it can turn whatever way it needs to. The second thing to look out for is, do you sew strips onto your block but don't have to turn it? Now this could be a strip assembly that doesn't rotate or one that has strips sewn onto the side. Here's our strip assembly, right? So we have our fabric number 1 in the middle and you cut your unit off of that. This stays this direction. We just start layering other strip assembly units onto the sides like this to finally end up with our built block of this. So this means it can use directional fabric because we only are adding on to the side, so it doesn't have to get rotated or anything like that. In some patterns, you will make a block and have to rotate it. This is one of the blocks from our pavilion pattern made scrappy. Now, we have a really nice big room for a big print, but you're gonna have to turn your block. So you make half of your blocks like this, and then if I look on my quilt diagram, I can see in my second row, some are gonna get turned like this. So with a stripe, that works perfectly. It gets turned all the way around. It's totally fine. But if I had a really strong direction, like those horses with the top and bottom, then the fabric would get turned upside down. So here we have the resilience pattern like we saw earlier, and those big blocks are cut independently. So they're A-okay. We also have those horses in our Sweet Times pattern. This one is made with strip assemblies and then strips sewn onto the sides of those blocks. So that's another one that works perfectly with directional fabric because you can make sure your block is going to face the right way. Pavilion, the one we just looked at, here you can see in that second row, we have a bunch of horses on their heads. Although we have the space for that size print, it doesn't work because it gets all turned upside down. That's just something you want to look for. You can use all these same methods for picking out a 5-yard pattern. Just keep your ruler handy and that will help you a lot. All of the kits we looked at are available at fabriccafe.com, but supplies are limited, so make sure to get them before they're gone. We don't always just have yardage in our stashes though. There are so many different cuts of fabric out there. So let's look at some ideas on how to use those. First, let's talk pre-cuts. Here we have some examples. We have some layer cakes, charm packs, mini charms, and jelly rolls. We have a great book, Stash Busting with 3-Yard Quilts, that tells you places that you can substitute yardage with pre-cuts. But you can make any of our standard 3-yard and 5-yard quilt patterns work. All you need to do is make sure that the block or strip you're cutting is the same size or smaller than your pre-cut size. This is the balance pattern, and I use charm packs for the center of all my blocks. I just trimmed my squares to the needed size and I bordered them with strips on all sides instead of making a strip assembly. It was a really easy change. If you would like to get more in-depth instruction on that, then be sure to watch the video where I step out exactly how I made this quilt. But you don't have to just use layer cakes or charm packs in places where you need just a square. You can also cut them up to make half square triangle pieces and blocks. So here we have a moire that Fran made, and she used layer cakes for all of her different hearts. And she even sewed some end to end to make a scrappy border over here. And this is a great way to use up some of your layer cakes to cut them into little pieces. Fran also used jelly roll strips around her borders right here for this block. Jelly roll strips work great for quilt borders, bindings, block borders, and strip assemblies. Now this is simply strips, and I used a jelly roll for all of the strips that were the same size or smaller than my jelly roll strips were. So I used them here and here, and then I used yardage for the one that was a little bit too big. And jelly roll strips will work really well for rail fence style blocks too. And if your strips are not wide enough, you could always sew 2 together on the long edge like you normally do a strip assembly to get them a little bit wider. I also have a video stepping out how I made this quilt as well, so you can get a little bit more idea on how to use those jelly rolls. So if you have pre-cuts in your stash that you're stuck on, throw them in a 3-yard quilt. As long as you make sure your blocks are the same size or smaller than your pre-cut, or you sew some together to get the right size, then you're gonna be fine. Fat quarters are another thing that can be tricky to use sometimes. We have 2 books that are designed to use 12 fat quarters in each pattern. But if you want to change up a standard 3-yard or 5-yard pattern to use your fat quarters, then no problem. The easiest way to do that is to pick a pattern where some of the piecing is done on their own. This is our Fur Babies pattern, and I used fat quarters for all of my hearts, cats, and borders for my hearts and my quilt border and my binding. Since your cats and hearts are kind of their own thing, they're very easy to make independently. I just cut everything I needed from one fat quarter at a time, made the blocks that corresponded to them, and then I would move on to the next fat quarter, and it made it really easy. Any pattern that has a motif that can be made independently works really well for fat quarters. You can also cut strips from your fat quarters, sew them end to end, and make scrappy borders and bindings like I did on this one. You can use this same method with any of your fabric scraps too. If you would like some tips on how to sort your fabric scraps and plan out a scrap quilt, then be sure to watch our tutorial where Fran steps you through the whole process. Smaller projects, like pillows or table runners, are also a great way to use up your scraps. Our book, Make It Home with 3-Yard Quilts, has patterns for pillows, table runners, wall hangings, and placemats. And if you're only making one project at a time, you won't need large amounts of fabric. So you'll be able to use some of those smaller strips and squares that are just taking up space. Adding additional borders to your quilts is also a great way to use up leftover fabric strips. Sometimes you might have more than a yard of fabric. If you have really big pieces of fabric that you don't really know what to do with, then consider using it for a backing. This is a great way to move along large amounts of fabric. Those are just some ideas on how to start working through that fabric stash. Do you have any tips on sorting and using your fabric stash? Let me know in the comments. And if you would like to see what some of my goals are for cleaning out my stash this year, then be sure to watch the video that pops up. Happy quilting!